Earlier on Sunday, ECOWAS leaders meeting in Accra, Ghana, imposed wide-ranging sanctions on Mali. The leaders said an attempt by Mali's military rulers to delay elections until 2025 was unacceptable. CGTN's Nabil Ahmed Rufai is following those developments from Accra.
The West African leaders met in Accra to discuss the political situation in Mali. They are concerned about the failure of the transitional authority in Mali to hold elections in February. Mali's transitional government has proposed to return the country to civilian rule within the next 5 years.
The authority find the proposed chronogram for a transition totally unacceptable. This chronogram simply means that an illegitimate military transition government will take the Malian people hostage during the next 5 years.
ECOWAS has upheld the already imposed sanctions on Mali and its transitional government, which include a freeze of financial assets and a travel ban. The regional bloc had already suspended Mali after the military took over the government more than a year ago and has now imposed further sanctions.
These additional sanctions include, first, the withdrawal of ambassadors of all ECOWAS member states in Mali. Second, closure of land and air border between ECOWAS member countries and Mali. Third, suspension of all commercial and financial transactions between ECOWAS member states and Mali.
ECOWAS has also frozen Mali's assets in the regional bloc's central commercial banks and suspended all financial support given to the country.
The West African leaders say they are also concerned about the deployment of private security agents in Mali, although the transition government has denied it. They believe it has contributed to the delay in the political transition to civilian rule in the country.
ECOWAS has urged the international community, including the African Union and United Nations, to support the implementation of the sanctions. The regional bloc says it will only lift the sanctions after it agrees on a timeline with Mali's transitional authority to return the country to a civilian government. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, CGTN, Accra, Ghana.
Earlier, I spoke to Ibrahim Al-Bakri Nye. He's a researcher in African political economy and a fellow at the Center for Democracy and Development, West Africa. I started by asking him about the impact of the sanctions imposed by ECOWAS.
Well, first, the sanctions will seek to delegitimize the military government and incite the Malian population against the military government. And the sanction will hamstring the Malian military government to exert the authority that it thought they would have had to impose themselves on the Malian people. And certainly, the sanction will severely impact the Malian economy, given the restrictions on the movement of goods and people and financial inflows and outflows to the country. But it's obviously going to be difficult to implement at the multiple porous borders that Mali has with its neighbor. The official borders will be closed, certainly, but it's only going to facilitate the smuggling of goods and the trafficking of goods into and out of Mali and the trafficking of persons. And we also risk smuggling of arms into Mali, particularly to the non-state armed groups that are operating in the northern territories of Mali. And further weakening the military authority, which is already not fighting the insurgency, will strengthen the position of the armed groups to expand their territory. At the moment, the Malian political leadership or the military leadership controls less than half of the country's territory. And the deepening of sanctions and restrictions against Mali is only going to strengthen the insurgents in the northern territories, the northern and central territories of Mali.